your video for your guided session of today's maths lesson. So, like we did in the anchor task, we are converting common fractions into percentages. And I would just say it again, if you have not already watched the videos or done the work where you are converting fractions and decimals, please go back and do that work before you attempt this. It will just make it a lot easier for you. So let's have a look and let's get started. So our first slide here is just a little reminder for you. Percentage means out of 100. So here is my 100 square. Okay, one whole means 100% or 100 out of 100. It could also mean 10 out of 10. Okay, or 1 out of 1. Okay, it is one whole. All those things that we've already learned, one whole is 100%. So having a look here then, we have got our 100 grid. We know that percent means out of 100. Therefore, if we were going to write this as a fraction, which I would always recommend you do first, we would have 1, because there's one bit coloured in, and 100 equal parts. So out of 100, what is the percentage? Well, it would have to be 1%. Another example then, here's my 100 grid, 100 equal parts, and there are 2 of them coloured in. Therefore, it's 2 over 100, or 2 out of 100. Therefore, it means that is 2%. Okay, so let's have a little go at this one together then. It's 100 equal parts, so my denominator is 100. Okay, and have a look now, how many bits have been coloured in? How many squares have been coloured in? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There have been 5 coloured in. Therefore, the percentage must be what? And I'm hoping that some of you are at this particular moment in time writing that down or shouting at the screen. So it will actually be 5%. Oh, sorry about my dodgy 5. Okay, let's have another go then together. What about this one? Okay, so we have got 100 equal parts. How many are coloured in? Well, we can count them, or I'm hoping that if you know that this is 100 square, it's 10 by 10, so we can recognise that that is a 10. So 10 over 100, therefore it must be, if it's 10 out of 100, it must be 10%. Okay, so it is 10%. I'm really sorry if you can hear my little kitten Belle dingling in there in the background. He just wants to come and join you and enjoy your fractions with you and the decimals and the percentages. Getting back to the maths then, if we know that this is 10% and we've got 10 out of 100 here, can this be simplified? So looking at this, how could I write this fraction? How could I write it as an equivalent fraction? And I'm hoping that you all are noticing that both numbers end in 0, so they're both multiples of 10. Therefore, we can divide them both by 10. What we do to the bottom, we do to the top, and that would give us 1/10. Okay, so therefore we know that 10% is the same as 10 hundredths, which is the same as 1/10. And I'm hoping that some of you would even be able to do this as a decimal, which is, we know, 0.1. Okay, so 10%, 10 hundredths is the same as 1/10, which is also the same as 0.1. Because if we were to make that 2 decimal places, that would become a 10. Okay, because 2 decimal places means 100. Right, next one then, let's have a look at this. We know the denominator is 100, so how many have been coloured in? So I'm hoping you're noticing 10, 20. If you want to pause the video now and have a go at writing that as a percentage, that would be amazing, or shout it at the screen, or jot it down somewhere, whichever you prefer. So as a percentage, if it's 20 out of 100, then it must be 20%. And again, can this be simplified? Well, we know it can. They're both multiples of 10, so I'm going to divide them both by 10. Becomes 2/10. which we know is the same as 0.2. I'm hoping that you are starting to see the connections between these numbers and the percent. So 20 over 100, 2/10, 0.2. Okay, if we made it into 2 decimal place, it would be 0.20. Okay, so 20%. Right, next one. If I'm going to write this, it's going to have 100 as my denominator. Okay, you can pause it now if you want to and have a go, or you can shout it at the screen or jot it down. But I know that this is going to be 10, 20, and it's going to be 25. So 25 over 100. We know that 25 is famous when it comes to percentages, fractions, and decimals. I'm hoping at the minute your brain is going, oh, I know what that is the same as. I know what that's equivalent to. So 25 over 100 is the same as 25%. Okay, I can divide both of these numbers by what? Okay, what can I divide both of these numbers by to give me an equivalent fraction? Okay, what can I divide both by? And I hope that you are all shouting the number 25. So 25 divided by 25 equals 1, and 100 divided by 25 equals 4. So 25% is one of our famous fractions. Okay, it is one of those famous fractions that you just need to remember. So if you're really challenging yourself today, you should be able to write this as a decimal, 0. You're shouting at the screen, 25. Okay, so 0.25, 1/4, 25 over 100, and 25% are all equivalent. They are all the same, okay? Right then, let's have a think about what we've just learned, okay, and think about the answers to these questions. So you might need to pause this video as we go through, and you may want to kind of stop now, write the answers, jot them down, and then press play again. But I am going to go through these answers for you. So 26 over 100, we know that that's 26 out of 100. So as a percentage, it would need to be, just going to change it so that I can select and move. It's going to be 26%. 2 out of 100 means there's 2 bits coloured in out of the 100, so it's going to be 2%. 78 over 100, we know that that is going to be 78%. So Miss Barnard has left us a little star here. Can you link it to the decimal equivalents too? Which I'm hoping most of us will be able to do, as I have spoken about this in the other videos. So if it's 26 out of 100, 100 has 2 zeros, so it must be 2 decimal places. So 0.2 decimal places, and the number is 26. Okay. Next one is 2%. 100, the denominator is 100, has 2 decimal places, so 0 point something something, but the number should be 2. Okay, so if I put a 2 here, that's going to make that 0.20. That's going to make that number 20, so that's incorrect. It needs to be a 2, so I'm going to put 0. My 2 goes here with my 0. Okay, so 2 decimal places, but the number needs to be 2. Well, the next one is going to be 2 decimal places because the denominator is 100. So 2 decimal places, and the number is going to be 78. When we're writing percentages as decimals, they always have 2 decimal places because percentage means out of 100. Right, what about these famous fractions then? Let's see who's been paying attention. Famous fractions. 1/2 is the same as 50%. 1/4 should be the same as 25%, and 3/4 should be the same as 75%. Have a go now at writing the decimal equivalents. If you need to pause, then please do so. So 50%, okay, 1/2, 50%. 50% is also the same as 50 over 100. Which is also the same as 5/10. So I know that it's going to be 0.5. Okay, they are all equivalent. 1/4 is the same as 25%, which is the same as 25 over 100, which is the same as 0.25. 2 decimal places, 2 zeros. 3/4 is 75%, and we know that because 75 over 100, if it's got 100, it's got 2 zeros, it needs 2 decimal places, it's going to be 0.75. They are what we call famous fractions, famous percentages and decimals also. You need to just learn those, okay? So you need to make sure that you recognize these straight away, okay? So 1/4 is 25%, 1/2 is 50%, 3/4 is 75%. Have a go writing them down multiple times, test yourself, quiz yourself on them, and make sure that you have memorized those famous fractions for me. Right, some more famous fractions then. 1/5. Okay, so 1/5 is also the same as, just change my pen for you. 1/5 is also the same as 2/10, which is also the same as 20/100. So as a percentage, it must be, I'm hoping that you're all shouting at the screen, it should be 20%, okay? Next one then, 1/3, okay? So 1/3 is slightly different, isn't it? Okay, because we know that 1/3 is the same as 33 over that 100, okay? Remember, it's that recurring, isn't it? Okay, so as that decimal, it is going to look slightly different, but as a percentage, we're going to have 33.3, and we've got our recurring symbol just there, okay? And if we were going to write it as a decimal, it's going to be 0.33. Right, okay. Have a go at pausing now and try filling in the table that you can see on the screen. Then once you've done it, you can press play again and I will go through the answers for you, okay? So let's have a look. Pen. 2/10 is going to be, out of 100, it's going to be 20 hundredths. Okay, so 2/10 is the same as 20 hundredths, which is the same as 20%. 5/20ths, to make it out of 100, I need to jump here. I'm going to times by 5. Okay, so 5/20ths is the same as 25 hundredths, which is the same as 25%. What famous fraction is 25% the same as? So I'm hoping that you have all recognised that that is 1/4, okay? So 0.25. Yeah, think about all those connections in those numbers. Right, 75 over 100. Okay, how do I get from 100 to 4? I divide by 25. 75 divided by 25 is going to be 3. So 3/4, and it's going to be 75%. As a famous fraction, famous decimal, okay, we know that it's going to be 0.75. Here then, how did I get from 60 to 30? Well, I've divided by 2. So this one's going to become 50, because what I do to the bottom, I do to the top. So divide that by 2, divide that by 2. 60 hundredths is also the same as 6/10, in case you really want to push yourself and challenge yourselves, which is obviously going to be 60%, which as a decimal is going to be 0.6. I really hope you're starting to see how all these are linked together, how all your fractions, your percentages, and your decimals are all currently linked together. So if this is 80%, we know that means it's 80 out of 100. So we go like this. Okay, we go 80 out of 100. To get from 80 to 4, we have to divide by 20, and we know that because it's connective thinking. If you cover up that 0, 8 divided by 4 is 2, and then put your 0 back on, times it by 10 is 20. So 100 divided by 20 equals 5. So 4/5 is the same as 80 hundredths, which is also the same as 8/10. Okay, this one up here as well is the same as 2/10. just so it's really clear for you to see that connection, and that's going to be 80% or 0.8. Okay, if you look at it, 80%, to be 2 decimal places, it would be like this. But we know that 0 on the end has no value, so it is not necessary, okay? Has no value, so we get rid of it. We don't need it. It's 0.8. Okay, the next video that I post on will be going through your intelligent practice and you dive deeper. If you need to re-watch this video again, please do. If you're still a little bit confused, then don't feel free to message your teacher.